It's Wednesday, October 21st. This is Coach Frenchy directly from the booth. And we have Michael Devellano directly from the West Coast. Good morning, Michael. It's 8 a.m. over there in the West Coast right now.
Ready to rock as usual. Talk some hockey.
Here we go. Hockey Nation fans, welcome to another great daily show. Every day we are showing up here between 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We have a couple of news, not big on the signature. Yesterday was really a quiet day since we left each other yesterday, but we can go with a couple of things happening. Honestly, I think the biggest signature yesterday was more about the Toronto Maple Leafs signed their finally before he went to on a salary arbitration. By the fact, we talked about him yesterday, if you remember. We talked about Alien McInniff, a 2 years contract, 3.29, 1.645, 26 years old. Honestly, he's the second year in the NHL for the upcoming season. Played prior with KHL, came like 2 years ago. We talk about, I think that the league was request $1 million. If I can remember, it was about $3 million for
2.8, yeah.
Right?
$1 million for the Leafs and 2.87.
So he got 1.6 for $5 million per 2 years. Again,
wait, no, he got 1.6 times 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's 3.2 million.
Yeah, 3.2 for a period of 2 years. That's make now Toronto, that's a situation where it's a bit, caution because the salary cap is about $329. I think they have the space is about $329, and they still have two players to sign as a RFA. And the most important thing is Dermott.
Yeah, Dermott, so they've qualified him. They just don't have a contract. We've seen them do this in the past. So they're a weird group, right? This is where the cap doesn't benefit them because they could spend $120 million and they'd still be profitable, on their payroll. There maybe more than that. It might be 160 because they have just so much more revenue in the local contract and their arena and their everything else, right? So they're always pushing the cap because they're not worried about money, but they'll juggle these players. What'll be interesting to me to see is, I don't understand the VC signing. You could have avoided that. I don't understand, to your point. I mean, I get needing Spezza and Thornton just because neither one of those guys is gonna be full time, but there's 1.5 for one guy, essentially. If they split time, right, which may not be the way they do it. So it's going to be weird. I don't know. I think, do you see a eventual move with Nylander? I don't know. I mean,
I believe Toronto is not done yet. I believe they cannot lose McDonough, right?
McDermott? No, they won't.
Not lose him. So I believe the next player can leave right now. It's more probably I believe it's more Kerfoot.
That would make. I was going to say he didn't really get the offense. His offensive production has dropped every year. He's only 3 years into the NHL, but he only had 9 goals last year. He had 15 the year before. I think he had 20 or something, or 18 the year before that. So he makes a lot of sense for me. If Mikheyev and the new guy, the Barbanov, the other Russian guy they signed, and you're still burying Pierre Engvall at this point. So I could see where they move a McDermott. They don't really need him. They have. I think that's really the only ones I can see. But Barbanov would be 925. Engvall is 1, so there's $2 million right there. And Kerfoot's at 3.5.
That's the reason why I believe Kerfoot on the bottom six.
That makes most sense.
That's the one have the most salary.
Yeah,
and that'd be.
They don't need him. They have no need for him. If Mikheyev's there at 1.6, that's plus those other two guys. That's the way they go. And then they got to figure out Dermott. What does Dermott get? But we can talk about that, I guess, another day. But The thing that I thought was interesting, did you see the letter that the Chicago Blackhawks sent to their fans?
Yeah, just finishing about this. We're going to finish the update for the signature. The only one signature this morning, couple hours ago, is the minor one for the New Jersey Devils. Signed Nicola Berkeley, 87425 1 year contract. Is a right wing for them. Honestly, Berkeley is
Nick Merkley? No.
yeah. It's
New Jersey?
he
Because
played only
on
4
the
games.
Taylor Hall deal, right, from Arizona?
Yeah, exactly. So he played 4 games for them last year. 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 point in 11 minutes. He played for the New Jersey Devils. You're absolutely right. He's a 5'10", who came from a Calgary, draft first round by the Arizona Coyotes, 30 overall, 23 years old, 5'10", 194. He's a left shooter, but he play right wing. So he played only 2 years and honestly 5 games in the NHL so far. So again,
I don't see much going on there. I mean, what do you think? And I noticed that you guys signed Scotty Wilson in Florida. So there's an Oakville boy. He's played a little bit in the NHL.
Yep.
He's like a fourth line bounce back and forth AHL guy, but.
So that was about the biggest thing happening yesterday about signature so far. Of course, you mentioned this. I think after that, the second best, surprised a little bit, and that started many rumors around the league about the Chicago Blackhawks letter. Um, they want to do a little bit what the New York Rangers did a couple of years ago. I believe they are different situation.
They have to be.
Between New Jersey, between Rangers and the Blackhawks, and because that time of the Rangers they don't have those kind of stars impact like Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, or Keith Seabrook. If you that,
they've already got their young stars. Like Doc is going to be their number one center. Like they've already got Adam Bachfest. They've already got DeBrincat. What am I missing? Kubalik. They signed Kubalik. Like he's an immediate contributor. You don't rebuild that. Like it doesn't make any sense. They have no goaltending. You don't rebuild around Malcolm Subban.
But I think
you're going to rebuild.
I think that's the biggest problem they got right now is did not sign Corey Crawford. I think that's the first thing they upset the rest of the team by not resigning him after that. And then after that, you got the move of Brendan Sad move to Colorado, and they got 2 other players. Now, the situation of Bowman right now, I believe more is about, all right, we're going to get rebuild. I think now he's going to get, he's not going to trade nowhere Seabrook.
Seabrook's done, right? I don't think either.
He's going to be a long-term,
I think he's probably done. Maybe, but I would be really shocked. The trade to Colorado, like they got Zadorov, and they got Lindholm, and both those guys can play to a different extent. I don't understand the Corey Crawford thing still. Like, why wouldn't you keep that guy? He's going to a team that's worse off than Chicago. Like Chicago showed in the playoffs, they're young, but they can win. Like the next logical progression would be get an actual goalie prospect. That's it. And maybe one more D.
But I think that's the mistake over there. I think the mistake of the not sign Corey Crawford and expecting him to have other goalies on the market that maybe by that now they have to figure out. Now, is that an open letter also to open the market to see Patrick Kane leave or Jonathan Toews leave? The problem is the salary, honestly.
Why would you ever trade either of those players?
And they are only 31, so they go under 32 years. They still have a 3.
You let those guys retire, Pierre. You don't trade them. Like neither one is dipped in the way they play. I mean, look at Kane's production.
If you trade Wayne Gretzky, you can trade everybody.
Well, that doesn't make any sense because Wayne Gretzky never should have been traded.
So the point here behind this is going to be there may be possible to trade one of them. They maybe trade also
You
keep.
don't trade either of those
And
guys.
to do that is to open up the letter where it's about rebuild. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, that makes no sense. They already have their young stars. Like Patrick Kane had 84 points last year. He had 110 the year before. He doesn't look like he's the problem is the coach, frankly. Like they're playing this like Wild West style, and now you have no goaltending.
But that's the point right now. That's my point. As if you call Patrick Kane right now, do you really believe he wants to stay there?
Yeah, he wants it. They won't. They're so loyal to those two guys.
But weeks ago, they was frustrated. They was upset about the
Well,
situation.
James called it out.
So you really believe at Patrick Kane right now he wants to stay in Chicago with the situation with no goalies and he will play just because the people likes him over there?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he wants out, but I'd be really shocked if he did. I mean, those two guys have a lot. They still have a lot of firepower around them, but you've sabotaged yourself with one position. Like
Well,
they don't.
more that they don't they have to have more. I don't think so. The D is really caliber like
Well, that
more
I
like
don't
Adam.
disagree with. Like you're counting on Calvin DeHaan. He only played 29 games. The guy's career injury prone. So I agree with you there. I think Bachfist will be a good addition, but you're right. They need more D. They were not that far off. To me, if I had that group, it's like I would have like added two young D. They got rid of Leonard and they got rid of Gustafson. What?
But that's the problem. I think the biggest problem is the goalie situation. They have to figure out that. But I think the other was just to say, hey, calm down, everybody. We're going to be on the period of rebuilding this team, and maybe they will pick up 4, 5, 6 players. So, it's maybe Dak, this maybe they bring Cat, and they can go all the way like this, and then, they can figure out that way. But I think that's what the message there is more about.
This has been mishandled, in my opinion, for a couple of years. Like
this was just like completely missed the target about the goalie situation. Like you cannot leave a goalie situation like it's like any team in the NHL. If you don't have a goalie number one, you're not going to go nowhere. Whatever who they are, whatever it is, it's not going to go nowhere.
it makes no sense. They could have, they had their cheap pieces. They had Kubalik. They've got DeBrincat. They got Strome. They got Nylander. All they have Bachfist had a really good, half year. All they had to do was add one piece. If they kept Leonard, it's not like he's old. They kept Leonard and they kept even Gustafson because he had good production for them. Instead, they strip out Leonard, they strip out Crawford. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid.
So we'll see what happened over there. Honestly,
Pretty disappointing.
So on the other side, go around. When we talk about the Nashville Predator, we didn't mention him yesterday, but signed the forward Ram Pitlick to the 1 year contract, 1 year, but a 2-way contract. So that's a minor there. Mention about the news I mentioned to you. I forgot to tell you about the total amount is a 371.63 and the salary cap space with 21 players for Toronto. And they have to sign Travis Dermott and Joey Anderson.
Yeah, you're less worried about Anderson. Dermott is going to get some decent money, I would think.
No, but I think they have to respect 23 players.
They have to what?
They have the rules. They cannot have like 19 players and get the cap. So they have to have a restriction to sign at least 23 players.
Right. Yeah. They need 23 contracts.
Yeah, so exactly.
But I think you're right. I think they're going to have to do some. They've already seen they've moved out their whole third line. They moved out Kapanen. They moved out Johansson. They'll move out Kerfoot.
Yeah. Talking about news around the league and around the world Junior schedule start honestly Friday, December 25th with 3 games: Slovakia, Switzerland, Finland, Germany, and US versus Russia. It's going to be at the Edmonton at the Roger Place. No fans attendance, and will run from December 25th to January 5th. So it's going to be like another one World Junior. I think it'll be great time because nobody. I don't think the hockey will be open up at that moment. Talking about open up hockey, the AHL, they are scheduled to start December 4th, I believe, but they are thinking now to push back later because the increasing of the COVID-19 around. So I believe now the AHL is going to be pushed. And the reason problem right now is because all the players AHL or club farm, maybe like that, and what they do with those players, they are sent to loan, and we have a number of players can play everywhere in the world, but some point cannot put everybody. So they are a little bit concerned about that. Talking about the
You would think that Europe would be an option, but maybe that's an issue with getting players there. I don't know.
yeah, but they have a different league. They have a limit of and park players. So that doesn't make sense. So they have different. They cannot get like 12 players from Providence Bruins. You know what I mean? So it's not easy to do that. Talking about the NHL around the news, they have their meeting GM this Friday, or usually like every year. They were usually at Boca Raton here in Florida, but unfortunately, with the situation, everybody is going to be on their office. The biggest concerns about the schedule and the game and when they restart. That's in the situation with AHL players, but that's what they are on the most of the thing. They already have some discussion between the NPHA and the NHLPA and also the NHL people, but still figure out, more deeper now when they restart, everything like that. I think for me now with the situation, COVID is going to be worse in December. I believe this league is going to be start pushed maybe at the end of January, maybe in February. That's my expectation.
I would be shocked if they don't do some modified bubble scenario.
Um, Again, 3 weeks ago, we said to you, I don't think so. They will be back at the bubble, but they would now maybe have something different because we're going to be at the next 3 months, or maybe the worst of the COVID-19 in USA. So we're going to be worse in March. So what they do, you know what I mean?
They're not going to push it out to March, though, I wouldn't think, but maybe they do. I could see where they create bubbles of teams. You know what I mean? It's like, here's a 30-day bubble. And do they get permission to go between bubbles?
Yeah, we had some opportunity between that. Again, the questions about how we go in. Everybody start to restart right now sport area like football and soccer, baseball. Yesterday, the first time 11,000 people in the stadium. The college bring people. Some NHL, NFL players bring fans now in the stadium, and then the elections coming in November. What could turn around? Maybe someone show up now, president, and shut down everybody to be every 52 states. So you have a lot of things going on around, and you know what I mean. Everything's possible, honestly. So we have to be curious about what could happen. Nothing changed now. The UFA players is very quiet. We know situation with already spoke about Mike Hoffman and then Eric Orlov, Michael Brandland. And this not going to change a lot. I don't expect someone sign right out until the conditions going on around the league. And the reason why, being honest with you, it's all about because now they don't know how many games, they don't know what could happen. Now this week's more about arbitration. I'm very curious about what Connor Brown's going to get for Ottawa.
What were the offers? It was
4.2 versus 225.
He'll end up at 3 or something, like 3.5. He's a good player.
Yep. Yeah, the number is there, and they need him, and they need him in the lineup. You know, he's a top 6 player for them, so it'll be interesting about that one over there. Otherwise, nothing major around the league. So let's jump right now on we already start Monday with the Anaheim Ducks. Yesterday we did Arizona Coyotes. We do preview of each team in NHL for the next 31 days, see what they are, what happening the last couple of weeks and the playoff is over, and then what we think about the preview upcoming season, whenever it start. So we'll just give you an idea from each organization hockey club. And today, I believe Michael's going to talk about the Boston Bruins.
Yes, sir. So the bullet points on the Bruins, first off, is I have to spell Krug correctly, but is the loss of Torrey Krug.
Yeah, can you put it a bit bigger? One.
Does that work?
Oh yeah, I'll be honest with you, that's awesome.
Okay. So the first part is the loss of Torrey Krug. We know that the season's going to start with injuries to Marchand and Pasternak, so they're going to be on long term. I think there's one other player, which is Kevin Miller, which is the defenseman. He's a pretty good defenseman. I think he starts on long-term injury as well as what they're projecting. Tuukka Rask is kind of a bit of a wild card, but I have to assume they're going to, not do anything there. We saw where he opted out of the bubble for family reasons and left the playoffs. He obviously wasn't playing amazing, but it would have really helped to have him. So I think that kind of sabotaged their chances of doing anything. And Halak carried the weight, but we see what Halak is. He's a really good backup at this point. We're waiting to see what happens with Chara. My assumption is he will continue to play and will have a favorable contract to the team. I like the signing of Craig Smith. He's a consistent offensive producer and talented. He can play pretty much all three forward positions. They have one really important RFA, which is Jake DeBrusk. And I don't know if there's anyone else that you can think of.
I think he's going to be, Greg Smith, the top nine. A little bit what Charlie Coy bring to the Boston Bruins and he left Minnesota. We was trying to figure out, okay, is it, who's going to be second line, third line? I think Charlie Coy bring a lot on the team, but Greg Smith, I feel he would be like a little bit like them, him. I think he's going to be a 20 scorer over there. He can sometimes play second line and then bring back Jake DeBrusk. He can play musical chair with that second, third line over there.
For sure. They're big enough, they're fast enough, they're talented enough. They're going to be dangerous against the other team, second, third,
fourth. Power play, second unit on that over there. We see Boston. I believe now they're losing. I think they would play 4 forward, 1D.
Power play? Oh my God.
The dirty is going to be really not great anymore.
Yeah.
Talking about the ad, but he just resigned Matt Coach.
Yeah. So I think this is a guy that we don't know a lot about, but he's a smaller, decent skating defenseman.
A little bit bigger.
Probably not. I don't think so at this point. I'd have to do this. That's the only way I can make it bigger.
Okay, that's good.
So, I think on forwards, they do have good forward depth. Bjork is up and coming. Andre Cash can score.
That's a mistake. I believe they create a mistake at the update. They bring him over there, didn't produce not much over there. Hey, they gave a first-round pick 2020 for him. So a little bit
That's a lot.
That's a lot for him. Honestly, I didn't see him a lot during the playoff.
He's a talented player. He can score. So I don't know what happened on the move over. Maybe there was just such a difference in style, but he should be a top 6 there. And worst case,
I don't say he's not he's only 24 years old. He's a right wings, and I thought I was expect more from him when he came.
For sure, yeah.
I don't say I just for a first-round pick. I think it was a lot to give to him.
I think their logic is it's a late first, and what they were going to get would not be better than Andre, and he just really blossomed, in the last year and a half. So I guess we'll see. If he doesn't produce the way he was producing before, then for sure it's a mistake. His contract is favorable if he's an 18-20 goal guy, but he is restricted coming up, so they still have rights over him. Andre Bjork's real talented U.S. player. He is an effective third-line guy at this point that could probably flex up to the second at some point. We've talked about Craig Smith and Charlie Coyle and how important they are. We got Patrice Bergeron and Frenchy, and then we have to see the re-signing of Jake DeBrusk, and then you add in Pasternak and Marchand, and they're pretty good. If you add in Kevin Miller and then Zdeno Chara to the defense, they're still very deep. You can see where they're going to rely more on Charlie McAvoy going forward. Brandon Carlo is an excellent defenseman, top 4 probably. John Moore, we know, is capable of playing 5'6". He's a big guy that skates really well, not going to give you a lot of points. Veteran NHLer. I think the loss of Tortugas.
How I analyze this part, right? If you like about this, who's the top defenseman number 1?
It's definitely McAvoy. I mean, he's really capable of doing that.
Right. For me, right now, they don't have a defense number 2.
I agree.
Right?
So I think if they're counting on Grelchik or even Carlo, that's not really.
And I will be honest with you, I don't see Moore as a 3. I see more Carlo as a 4.
5'6". Moore is a 5'6".
So I believe that you can go with Moore, Clifton, and Lauzon and Miller. They are all 5 and 6 on my book.
Miller, if he's healthy, is a top 4, but is he healthy? And I don't know if you're going to get a full season out of him.
But if he was 4, he's not 3, and Carlo is not.
He's definitely not a 2, and definitely not a 3.
So Grelchik is on the wrong chair right now because now he become number 2
for sure.
Right. So that's a situation where you can send off. Chara can come back there. Right?
They need one
number 2 anymore. It's more like 4
for sure.
Right? And 5 maybe, but again, it's just like we just play with that part over there. And then if you can look about on the top, their 4-6 is pretty good, and it starts to be a little bit harder on the top 9 after that.
They definitely have a problem in a sense, like where they need, I get if you add in Chara, but he's going to play 5'6". You add in Miller, he's at best a 4. So if they're counting on Grelchik, I would, and I don't know how good Lauzon is. Like, how ready is he to play top 4? Like, I don't think that either of those guys is a long-term solution. They have obviously great depth down the middle, which really helps the defenseman down low. Like, you're never going to have Bergeron and Krejci on any other team. Like, if anyone's going to have support back there, it's Boston. However, to your point, they need another D, in my opinion.
2.
Probably 2.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, the 2 should be good.
The 2, that's right. Like, if they had, Grelchik, you're going to, if you move Grelchik down 1 and you had a legit number 2 defenseman here, then they'd be okay.
Oh, like, yeah. On the board you have right now, Krejci have to be down number 3 on the second pair.
Exactly.
Right? And then you get that kind of player over there. Now, on the forward,
you need Torrey Krug.
Yeah, on the forward, I'm not sold on Case right now, and I'm not sold on Zborg.
This guy, he's very good.
So
this guy will be a question, right? It's like if he doesn't produce, then they blew a first-round pick. Which
now they have to bring Craig Smith up on that one.
He's totally capable of doing that. Like Craig Smith, I think, is often buried on the third line in Nashville needlessly.
Yeah.
Like they just get comfortable with him on the third line. And he can play power play. He's a good 200-foot player, and he's got talent.
Yeah, the one you forgot to mention is they lost also a Joachim Nordstrom a couple of days ago, signed with the Calgary Flames. Yeah. He was on the part of on the depth chart right now. He will be 3rd or 4th. He was play more sometime 3rd because I think the 4. I think Nick Ritchie did not bring also what they was expected. He have a bad playoff, a lot of penalties, everything like that. So not play around with Pure Carly and Warner, everything like that. So it's to be interesting. And one thing we know,
I think they're not very far off. You could see where they might. Do they sign a Hoffman? Do they sign a Vatanen? If they had Vatanen, it would probably change things. He's a right shot defenseman, so that's the only problem. But he could. If you bring him in, he's the type of guy, and I believe he can play either side. He would solve the problem talent-wise. Someone like that.
They still have $6.6 million to play with, and I think they have only one RFA, if I remember.
DeBrusk.
Only DeBrusk.
Yep.
in the RFA on the lineup. But DeBrusk,
He'll get like 4 million or something, 3 million.
it has to be a bridge contract, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking like 3.5, 3.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think a 3.5 to $4 million 2 years contract.
Probably.
I think you are really on the you really there about that one over there. Because honestly, since like 17, 18, the kids score 16, 27, 19 goal and scores at 40, 43, 45 points per season. I believe like he's close to $4 million, to be honest with you.
Probably. I think that's why they're like, do we trade him? Do we get two guys that are cheaper? But I think he's a young forward that can score. Like
they cannot afford about that part over there.
Talking about it.
No, they cannot afford to pay.
I would sign him. I mean, you don't get players like they don't have enough depth to lose and risk on someone. If you look on their prospects, I mean, they have okay prospects, but I don't see anybody that's going to jump up. Vakainen could be that guy. Like maybe he steps in and takes one of those D spots, but that's unproven at this point. Axel Anderson, I don't know how close he is, but he's okay. Beecher, you might see a Beecher pop through with all the uncertainty, but I just don't see anybody that short term is going to be that impactful. I think they need to sign someone or make a trade to get that other defenseman, and they might need one more forward.
Yeah, and just to remind you, Craig Smith signed at $3.1 million.
Yep.
And I believe DeBrusk is a little bit better.
Sure.
Right? Younger, maybe trying that. So I think he's more like 3.5 to $4 million. And maybe push him to for 3 years about that one over there. So
I agree.
I think it'll be interesting to see that.
If you look at their prospect depth, it's not great. I mean, so they've re-signed Zboril, but there's nothing to indicate at this point that he's regular NHL duty now or ever. Senyshyn is what he is, They signed Kuhlman, so I'm assuming that they're going to give him a bigger role, or the hope is that this guy pops through, right? Vakanayan was a high draft pick. He's still young. He's on his entry-level contract. If he's ready, then great. If not, then he might need another year to get to that level. But overall, I mean, I don't see anybody that blows my socks off.
They were talking about Stanika, Jack Stanika, for the Providence AHL. He's considered like the number one after McKinnon. They will consider him one of the top best, the three, where they are close to playing the Boston Bruins with John Betcher. And,
that's why I say Beecher could pop through. Like
Trent Frederic.
They think Trent Frederic is still? Oh, Jack Studnicka. I don't know him.
Then you have Daniel Vandal, the goaltender, but you see him during the playoff.
Yeah, he's not. You know what? Actually, he's got potential. He looks pretty good.
6'5", he's 185. Yeah. He's a 97, 20, 23, 24 right now.
Yeah, I like him.
I think he's a good one over there. But like you said, I don't think so. They have a lot behind that where you say, oh, my God, this, you know what I mean? I don't know. You can see Callum Makar. You don't, you know what I mean? Like those players coming.
There's not one on that.
They don't have really
that, right? Like they've already graduated McAvoy, they've already graduated Bjork.
And when this year during the 30-30 didn't have no first round pick. They have to go only to 58 when they got Mason Lowery, defenseman. They was the first one really. They got him over there. And then the 89 it was Trevor Contar. So the bank of the draft was limited, and that's happened a lot when you're successful team because you really try to get an update at the deadline, and February usually. So you try
Yeah.
to get 1, 2 players. So you're thinking, remember, like a couple of months ago, Boston Bruins was the number one in the standing.
Totally. That's why, like, I don't think they're going to drop very much. It will hurt them losing Krug. They'll figure out some way to plug that left side on the defense. They're not going to go in as they are, I don't think. They're, to me, I don't know the Studichka guy in AHL. He played in Oshawa, I think, in the OHL, but I honestly haven't seen him play. Beecher, I think, has real potential, but he's 6'3". He's a big guy, can skate. He's at the University of Michigan, so I just think he's going to take some more time.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't see him popping through yet, but maybe we get surprised,
Yeah.
But I think their real hope is let's sign DeBrusk. Let's find a way to get another defenseman like a Vatanen in to plug the hole for a couple years or a year, and hope they're healthy.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I thought maybe at some point Axel Anderson is going to be one, maybe
Might be.
you know what I mean. And then I don't know. Like we talk about Stunica, and then we talk about Van Keninen, to 2018 overall in 2017. He played already 7 games in NHL, but
I think none of them. I think Vakanainen is closer than Anderson at this point. Anderson's like a smaller Torrey Krug D again. He's like 5'10". He can skate. I'm not sure if he's going to play in Sweden again, and I think he's probably at least a year away. Actually, he's probably playing in Sweden right now. And then Vakanainen, though, I think has potential to come over. Like he already got his, he's played 2 seasons in Providence. He's decent size. He's a good skater. He could be a real efficient player. He's just a 99 birth year. So he could plug a hole that we're not looking at on the depth chart. But is he in top 4? I would be really surprised. He's not like an offensive guy.
Yeah, but you think about this, like the hockey draft is not a sense, but you think about Boston since like 2015. That year they have they have 6 pick on the first two round, like 3 and number 1, 3 number 2, and the 6th one they got only Carlo and DeBrusk play NHL like regular, like a really solid player, everything like that. So
yep.
They did not do well on the with
So this is like famous because they passed on with these first 3 picks. They passed on Matthew Barzal, right? And I think at the time they had moved out. I don't know if this was the Dougie Hamilton move, where they moved out Hamilton, got the extra pick, and I just don't. It's still affecting them to this day, right? Because they picked 2 players that were not on anybody's radar at that point. Whereas everyone was waiting, a pick later after Senyshyn, who will never play probably in the NHL regularly. No, right? Like
on the flip side, in 2014, they did very well with Pasternak, Donato, Ainen, and those
York.
and those over there. You know what I mean? Like I said,
the other one I forgot here is in 2015 they drafted after Forsbacka Karlsson, who's actually not bad. He could probably play. Jeremy Lauzon, and they drafted the goalie you mentioned, Daniel Vladar. So it was probably overall a pretty good. Like getting Carlo makes up for the Senyshyn and Zboril picks. And Zboril might still play a 5'6" in the NHL. Like he's a decent skater. He's an OKD. He's not going to be a top 4 though.
No. But again, they have 10 round pick on that one over there. You mentioned about, like 5'6" playing NHL. But again, it's not easy. It takes time. You have to be patient. But Boston, the last since 2018, they got only about 3, 5, 6 pick per year. This year 4. Last season 5. The year prior it's 5, and then you have to go to 17 before you get 6 pick.
Totally.
So what I mean? Like sometime
I'm gonna add one slide here just to illustrate this, which I think this is really important because that was the year they had, it was the McDavid draft. And if you look at, everything here is kind of panned out, right?
Can you go growing? We cannot see. Yep.
So you look like Connor McDavid, Eichel, obvious first two picks. Strome was a little bit of a miss, but he's a regular NHLer. Mitch Marner obviously was great at 4. Hanfin is maybe not justifying 5, and Zach is definitely not 6. Provorov, probably should have been up there, and Werenski. Myers, like a number 1 first line player. Rantanen is one of the best players in the game. Krause has turned out to a decent player. Gurionov, we know what he's turned into, which is a real good forward. And then you've got these guys. So DeBrusk is panned out, but then look at the next 3 players. Barzal.
Yeah, again, like I said to you, it's like you can blame, but at the end of the day, draft is very hard. But when you have 3 pick back to back to back,
you should have hit more than 1 out of 3.
That's my point. I was going to say that you better to have 66% chance about that one over there, because you can go lower. Then you still have the goalie over there. Travis connect me from them. I think Roslovic at Winnipeg is not performed yet, but I really like.
You will, yeah.
And then you talk about Beauvillier at the lower. You know what I mean? Like, look about this. You talk about Jacob Larson, right? It's Brock Bozer. They are Coley White, and they have like Joel Eriksson. They are all clearly over many games in NHL.
Sure. And then actually, it's interesting to look even like that was a really hard draft to screw up. And when you had so many draft picks, like it just seems strange to me that this was Don Sweeney's first draft, I think, right? So you look at the second round, Christian Fischer just signed another contract, decent player. Mitchell Stevens we've seen is okay, but Travis Dermott, this one everyone missed. Sebastian Aho.
This is oh my God.
Like that one, like how we were so obsessed with.
Now the Boston pick up a good one with Carlo after that.
Yeah, that made up for it a little bit
over there.
Yeah, because he played almost right away. Bittner and Greer have not panned out. Malash has not panned out. Ryan Gropp's can't skate. Mackenzie Blackwood, so there were, that was a great pick there. Forsbacka Carlson, I'm actually surprised.
That is pretty good.
Look at this guy. So you got Rupe Hens.
Yep, and Greenway.
Yeah. Now they got Lausanne. I think he'll play. Rasmus Anderson. So that was a really, really deep draft. And it's not that everyone.
It was a good draft on that one here.
Yeah. So to miss on, like, even at the time when they picked them, people were like, okay, you passed on Kyle Connor, you passed on Barzal.
But again, like I said,
at the time, though, even people were like,
one, I'm gonna go with you. You know, what I mean, it's not easy, right? You maybe said take a chance, like let's go try one. But when you miss 2 like this,
it doesn't make sense.
That's a hard. So
nobody had Session until the second round. Not one team.
You know what I mean? Like I said, a draft is not easy. It's not a sense. But my point to you is, if they pick right now, worst case, don't pick Barzal, right? Let's go with Kyle Connor.
Oh yeah, Boser.
You know what I mean? We can go second, right? Or Brooke Boser right now. They are right now, both of them on the top 6.
Beauvillier.
Right? So they are right now. So imagine right now their top 6 with what they have with those picks. So you said to me, sometimes we say, oh yeah, that's not a big deal. But when you create a mistake like that, that year later, that's what's oh my God.
Totally.
We maybe screw maybe a couple of years with organization because of that part. So
in 2 rounds, Pierre, they had 6 draft picks.
Yeah. And again, it's not like, negative here, because all the team
shows the importance of those picks.
If you look at, you can go with Detroit with their pick there. Right now, he only played 20 games. You can go with, like you can go like like this but if you think about everything on that lineup there,
For sure.
the worst is 13 or 15. It's the same team.
Totally. And to your point, I still really like Svechnikov, but it's hurt them that he hasn't come through. Like, I think he will eventually. Now, whether they give him that chance, I mean, they've loaded up on old guys. He's totally capable of probably being better than, but again, this goalie, like Konechny, you get
But
the guy
again,
with the first overall pick in the OHL and led the
sometimes
in the
sometimes
OHL, and then
sometimes players take a little bit longer to develop, like Shevnikov. I think they should not give up on him. I think they should wait.
Yeah.
Samsonovi was just the traffic was too loud in front of him right now, right? So because when he got drafted, remember it was Gruber was there and Old B was there.
Yeah, for Washington, for sure.
Yeah.
But he was young. He needed 2 or 3 years.
Exactly, a bit like
you got a star.
Night. You know what I mean? Last night I have a group with someone, and was talking about the coach. He showed a lot of stuff about the NTBD from NT from the
U.S. development.
Hughes and Cofield and Bitcher and those players. Like, oh my God, they was like packed, unbelievable. That team USA that year.
Best ever, maybe.
Alex Turcotte, you know what I mean? I thought that moment before that, I thought the Matthews year was the best one.
It might be.
Wawrinski, right?
It's probably better.
But when you look now with Hughes, Cofield, and Turcotte, everything like that, the only thing that Fran said to you is, as a team together, that year is better. As an individual players, McIntyre, Wawrinski, Matthews, they are a little bit more, maybe they did.
Oh, that's why I still think that the Matthews year was still the best, maybe.
Yeah.
Those guys are pro bodies. McAvoy, Chara, Matthews. And then you look, Luke Kunin, Colin White's a regular in Ottawa, Clayton Keller. So those guys for sure.
Maybe it was fun to have that conversation with that. So
and Roslovic still, you can't discount him. I still, to your point, I think if he went to Boston.
Yeah, you're right.
That would be a great fit.
Absolutely about that one over there.
Although he is a centerman, so that might be tough, but
yeah.
Even Jeremy Bracco was on that team. That's why I like the signing of Carolina. I think Bracco can play. I mean, there was not Jeremy Bracco, not my favorite style of player, but if you like, a skilled winger that can set up and score a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just finishing with two things. The Pittsburgh Penguins just loaned the defenseman Cam Lee to HC Slovan Bratislava for the Slovak League until the NHL start. Honestly, he's a Western Michigan University last season, 3 goals, 18 assists, 26 games. And then the funny thing about that one, it's not funny, but if you don't know about that, they have a team in Liga. It's called the GPY, the Jyväskylä or Jyväskylä. They laid off the head coach Pekka Tukonen and assistant coach Ari Santanen until the end of December due to financial issues caused by the COVID-19. So their assistant coach Jukan Vermanen and Jaakko Riatiata and the development coach Jussi Tupainaiki will be the overcoaching duty and the interim to save more money for the rest of the year.
Wow. Fun fact. The pick you talked about in the AHL for Boston, Jack Studnicka.
Yep.
Do you know how they acquired that draft pick?
What do you mean?
So Boston, he was a second-round draft pick that came from Edmonton. They traded to get Peter Chiarelli.
Oh, yeah, it was a part of that deal over there when they got that part.
So, man, Edmonton got ripped off on that all the way around.
That's another one. You have a difficult time in Edmonton. The only thing Boston do well, I believe, they are not scared to trade their players.
No, they're not.
They
Dougie
are not scared. You know what I mean? You can go with
Tyler
many
Seguin.
players like Joe Thornton. And you can go all the way with a big star. They not worry about trade their player. That's something Boston always been compared to many other organizations.
That is very true.
Yep. So, anything else before we close the show today?
No, great show. Good job.
Yes, great job today. And tomorrow we're going, I believe, with the Buffalo Sabres.
Buffalo Sabres. I'm
And I
excited.
believe they are maybe one of the top best 5 team become better since the end of the season with
Absolutely. And you looked at that lineup. I'm really excited to look at that lineup because they're legit.
the only problem there is the owners, but that's another subject.
Oh, Pagulas?
Yeah. But the only thing they do very well with the program Penn State. They give a lot of money to they pay everything for the Penn State organization about the hockey program over there.
Kim Pagula's done a lot for women's hockey.
Yep.
She's
an aggressive woman entrepreneur. Yeah. You know what I mean? They are part of the
Korean, hard-charging, typical Korean lady who's like smart and works her ass off. But what's interesting to me is the best food in the NHL, I believe, is in Buffalo. I've been there pretty much.
The only thing I know in Buffalo, don't send Buffalo. Just go through Buffalo and then move on because during the winter time, you stuck maybe for a couple of days. So,
but that arena is an amazing arena, and I don't know what it is, but the quality of the food at that arena is better than any arena I've been in.
All right, Michael, thank you so much, Hockey Nation fan. Thanks to be here with us today. We had another great show, and we're going back tomorrow, Thursday, October 22, 22nd, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.